Holy rhinestones of fake diamond bedazzlement, it's time for video number 2! Hello everyone, my name is Malashira Jade, and welcome to Devil's Dice. I've been playing tabletop games for over a decade now, and I've developed a real passion for Dungeons & Dragons and anything and everything to do with the game. The purpose of the channel is to examine every single aspect of Dungeons & Dragons, and celebrate the good and discuss how we can improve the bad. After all, the devil is in the details, so why don't we jump in and examine them? Now, last time we talked about Baator, the link to which will be in the description below. The plane of hell itself, where souls of the damned and those foolish enough to make contracts with devils go to after they bite the dust. And I don't mean Queen Karaoke. During that video, I went into a brief explanation on each circle of hell, but what I covered barely scratches the surface of the complicated systems and inner machinations that is hell. It's not just a murder hobo party like your barbarian and rogue players think the game of D&D is. Hell, even the Abyss, home of the demons, which, again, aren't the same thing as devils, is more complex than that, even though it's a naturally chaotic place. With that in mind, this video is going to start the series of deep dives into each circle of hell and everything there is to know about them. And of course, logically, we'll start at the very beginning, Avernus. Avernus is a dry, desolate wasteland, don't make another California joke, and the sky is a smoky red that rains literal fire down upon its landscape. Its main function is to be a stage for a war, a very specific war called the Blood War. The Blood War is a fun little romp between the devils of hell and the demons of the abyss, an eternal war between the two that has been going on since, well, forever really. You see, the river Styx, which I'm sure you've heard of from Greek mythos, flows across multiple planes of existence. Most importantly for this discussion, it flows from the abyss right into Avernus. So, of course, demons are able to take full advantage of their naturally invasive natures and literally sail across the river Styx right into hell and attempt to take over it. And now I have a deep desire to see a demon wearing a pirate hat. And maybe an eye patch. Yeah. Anywho, the Blood War is a big problem for devils, and one of the main reasons they're so keen on making deals with you for that bowl of grapes. They need soldiers, and badly. You see, the Abyss, in all its chaotic tendencies, never stops making demons. They literally just pop out of nowhere and start terrorizing the nearest preschool by stealing the kids' juice boxes and telling them their mommies don't love them anymore. Devils don't get that advantage. They don't just show up, save for the ones Asmodeus bleeds into existence. But even he can't bleed fast enough to keep up with the ever-growing abyss and the literally infinite amount of demons it can spit out. The only reason devils are able to hold the line and prevent the demons from spilling out into any circles further down than Avernus is because demons, for all their infinite bodies, are basically made out of paper mache when compared to a devil. On an individual comparison scale, devils are stronger by far, and one devil versus one demon usually ends up in a victory for hell, unless it's something like a little imp trying to fight the demon prince Demogorgon. All this is to say that the Blood War is massive, brutal, deadly, vicious, and above all, due to the nature of the Abyss, infinite. As I said before, Avernus is basically a wasteland of nothingness in every direction as far as the eye can exist. Yes, I am saying that Avernus stretches out infinitely in every direction. It just keeps stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching like Mrs. Incredible. It's not as infinite as the Abyss, as odd as that sounds, but really all that means is that the Abyss is ever-growing at a much faster rate than Avernus. Hence the advantage the little chaotic jerks have even on the devil's home field. The entire place is basically littered with obsidian and quartz rocks just laying around, so if you're like me and think having a piece of quartz from the Nine Hells as an arcane focus for your character would be super awesome, you're in luck. Just don't run too fast to grab your pretty new rock, because the terrain is so jagged and rocky that trying to get through Avernus on foot at a pace any quicker than a light jog is going to end up in a brutal faceplant as you trip over a tormented-looking rock. Yeah, you heard that right. A lot of people think the rocks and boulders in Avernus look like tormented faces. Personally, I think Jesus and the grilled cheese look more accurate, but hey, what do I know? I'm just a devil shark girl. The sky is just as intimidating and deadly looking, a bloodied red spattered with dark clouds that drop literal fire down from the sky that explodes on impact. That's it! There isn't even a sun or any stars in the sky of Avernus, though there might be a moon. Unclear on that one. And if there is, it's probably the one from Majora's Mask. Look at that thing. Ew. Anyway, if you're going to traverse Avernus, you absolutely need shelter from the fireballs falling out of the sky, or else you won't last too long. Unless, of course, you have immunity to fire damage somehow, then I guess as long as you're cool with basically being pelted by what's effectively hot rain, at that point, while you're trying to sleep, you can just sprawl out anywhere like a cat. Now, although Avernus is basically California Infinite Edition, damn it, I said I wouldn't do it. There are a few things down here that aren't just rock and fire and devils and war. For example, the Bronze Citadel is a huge fortress city that is dozens of square miles large, and has not one, not two, not 3, 4, 5, or even 10 walls defending it, but a grand total of 12 walls surrounding it for protection from invasion. The funniest part is that when they built the first one, they thought that was good, but it didn't stop invaders well enough. So they built a second one, and it still didn't work. Then a third, and it still didn't work. This went on and on until they finally had a total of 12 walls, which I guess is enough? Eat your heart out, Donald. The other notable structure, if you could even call it that, is one that you'll have a really hard time missing when you're moving down to Yawnsville, the second circle of hell. As you're headed that way, you'll catch sight of a huge, massive, ridiculously high pillar made entirely of skulls called, you guessed it, the Pillar of Skulls. It's nice and creepy, yes, it makes my necromancer juices go a-flowing, but it's not just a random tower of skulls to scare people or anything, though I'm positive it certainly does do that. No, these skulls are demon skulls, a pile of trophies the devils of hell have collected throughout the Blood War and for some reason decided to put right here, right before you get to the second circle of Dis. Regardless of this choice of locale, the tower is likely a source of pride for the devils of Avernus, a semblance of the fact that there is a glimmer of hope that someday they might be freed of this eternal bloodshed. Now, as cool as the pillar is, don't go to the base of it if you can help it. There's a small handful of deities that call Avernus home, and among them are the kobold deity Kurtulmak, the goblin deity of cooperation and territory, Bargraviek, and living in her lair at the base of the Pillar of Skulls, the god of monochromatic dragons herself, Tiamat. While it is definitely centered at the base of the Pillar of Skulls, her lair is a massive mountain, which is a testament to just how tall the Pillar of Skulls really is. Now, you may find yourself wondering, like I did for a long time, why would Tiamat, a literal goddess of monochromatic dragons, choose Avernus as a home? And to answer that, we have to delve into the history of Avernus itself. Now, as you already know, provided you watched the overview, which again is linked below, each of the 9 hells is ruled by an archdevil, and the 9th circle is ruled by the guy in charge of the whole shebang, the king of devils, Asmodeus. A long time ago, before her ascension, Tiamat was an archdevil in service to Asmodeus, and she was fiercely loyal to him. Her job was to keep demons from entering any level of hell other than Avernus, keeping them from invading any further than the battlefield reserved just for them. Sadly for her, she kinda sucked ass at it. Not for lack of trying, though, which despite his disappointment, Asmodeus knew she wasn't purposely sabotaging Avernus. So, although he had to strip her of her rank as Archdevil, she was allowed to remain in Avernus as the gatekeeper of Dis, the second circle of hell, keeping demons from at least crossing that border. It stayed this way for a long, long time, until eventually Tiamat was like, screw this mortal bull, and ascended to godhood. Then, after Tiamat, Avernus was ruled by Zariel. But I love her to death and I'm highly biased, so she's getting her own little section a little bit later. For now, let's talk about the pit fiend that overthrew Zariel and locked her up and drained her power to make himself stronger, Bel. Bel is a powerful pit fiend from the layer of Dis, which in my opinion makes sense because I find Bel boring too. The one thing I kind of find admirable about him is that he's not one of the Dark Eight. The Dark Eight is a cult of pit fiends that are generally seen as the strongest and most influential ones in existence, but Bel, despite not being one of them, still ended up rising to power as an archdevil. Impressive, I must admit. Alas, despite being the exception, it wasn't meant to last. You see, there was one wave of demons one day that ended up overwhelming Bel and his armies, and even though he was able to beat them back into the abyss eventually, Daddy Asmodeus was still upset once again. So, what did he do? That's right, he stripped that title! And who, might you ask, replaced Bel in the absence of a leader of the armies of hell? My badass angel girl, Zariel. That's right, we're finally here. It's time to talk about the most badass angel to ever walk the face of the earth, or any other plane for that matter, except Avernus. She's best angel. So, the major reason I skipped over the first rule Zariel had is, quite frankly, because until her upheaval, nothing interesting really happened. It wasn't until after she'd been overthrown and imprisoned by Bel and at the mercy of the vicious now deity Tiamat that shit got interesting as all hell. However, I want to rewind back because this video series is about the circles of hell themselves and the devils in charge. And Zariel's story starts long before her fall from the heavens. Originally, Zariel was an angel, and a good-hearted, powerful, and righteous one. But she was bold, brash, and had a fiery hot temper. Any paladin of vengeance would have fawned over her like a schoolgirl. It's not quite clear how she fell from grace as an angel, but there are two main theories. Number one, she collected mortal armies to go fight demons that were spilling out of the abyss, but because they were, mortals, fleshy windbags that they are, they ran like scared geese at the sight of the demons, or, more likely, their fear aura abilities. This war was one that was unsanctioned by the heavens, so between their punishment that she saw as unjust and her new view that mortals were cowards not worth protecting, she fell into her devilish fallen angel form and, out of perhaps spite, swore an allegiance to Asmodeus. The second theory is that when Asmodeus fell, because he used to be an angel as well, Zariel found the charges reprehensible and stood with Asmodeus and was cast down from the seven heavens alongside him. Regardless of which theory you subscribe to, one thing is clear. Zariel used to be an angel with a badass celestial sword and brilliant white wings, and is now a badass devil queen with flaming black wings, a halo of hellish fire, a hammer she jacked off of a demon prince after making him her bitch, and the coolest replacement for an arm since the invention of the hook. After swearing allegiance to him, regardless of how or why, Asmodeus saw fit to make Zariel the Archduchess of Avernus, ruler of the first circle of hell. She was ruthless, headstrong, and borderline impulsive, and like the asshole he is during the Blood War, Bel took full advantage of her nature. See, Zariel, the vigilant warrior she was, wanted desperately to push the fight into the abyss. The further away from hell she kept the demons, the better off she knew she would be. And if she could pull it off, she knew Asmodeus would be rather pleased. So, not detecting his treachery, Zariel tasked Bel, who was a right-hand man at the time, to lead a flanking attack to pincer her down on the demon wave that was currently invading, and it was an absolutely crucial part of her strategy. Big bad baby bitch Bel, however, took the horde of devils under his command and marched right past the demons, and into the river Styx behind them. Remember, it flows from the abyss through to Avernus. He sat there and waited for 3 goddamn days while Zariel fought her ass off wondering what happened to her general, until finally he arrived with a whole ass new army of buddies he picked up from the mortal realm and sliced their way through the demons, saving, and I use that term with sarcastic air quotes, Zariel and her elite guard, which were the only people left fighting at all. Every other devil present had been put down at that point. Understandably upset over his subordinates, Zariel berated Bel and things got heated. Like, "I'ma kill you and your new little pets too" kinda heated. Now normally Zariel would have whooped Bel's ass no problem. She had him outmatched in every way. But she'd been fighting for 3 days straight non-stop, so she was more tired than your asshole cat that sleeps 18 hours a day. Why are you so tired? You don't do anything! and had just her elite guard left. Meanwhile, Bel had been maxed and relaxed by the spirit pool, so he and his new army of devil babies were fresh and ready to go. However, even under these conditions, Zariel and her absolute badassery fought him into a stalemate. It got so bad Asmodeus had to step in like one of those cartoon dads breaking up their kid's fight by lifting them up by the collars while they still flail in the air in each other's general direction. And like the lying, manipulative younger sibling in said fight Dad broke up, Bel was able to pin the whole thing on Zariel, which Asmodeus believed intelligent as he's supposed to be, and stripped Zariel of her title, making Bel the newly appointed ruler of Avernus. And yes, I'm saltier than McDonald's fries about it. Now, many years passed by after that, and Bel did an alright job for the most part of keeping the abyssal invasion at bay. But it didn't satisfy Asmodeus. He wasn't good enough. He had failed one too many times and fell out of Asmodeus' favor. As a result, Asmodeus extended the title to Tiamat once again, but to avoid conflict, and probably because a goddess of dragons didn't much care about the blood war anymore, she turned it down. Left with few other options, Asmodeus turned to the undeniable fact that of the 3 options he had left for leaders of Avernus, Zariel was by far the best one. She wanted the crown, she was damn good at the job, and she didn't have the desire to rule any other layers of hell because Avernus was where the fighting was most rampant. A perfect wonderland for a battle-hungry devil like herself. Not to mention it prevented the ruffling of feathers of any other archdevils, but not that Asmodeus really cared about that. He mostly probably just didn't want to hear the bitch. So, left with little other choice, he swapped Zariel and Bel's places once again, making Zariel the ruler of Avernus, and Bel finding himself back in Zariel's command where he began and belongs, that traitorous asshole. Just because you're a devil doesn't mean you can't be loyal. I mean, even after everything that happened to her, Zariel is still loyal to Asmodeus. Clearly not happy that he stripped her rank, but understanding why he did. From his perspective, she messed up big. And in her mind, I think she believes that she did too. By believing that she could trust Bel. A mistake she won't make again. Hell, she's so untrusting that she's actively working with mortals, who again she despises, to try and free Tiamat from her arrangement with Asmodeus, purely so that Tiamat will leave Avernus altogether, leaving Zariel as the undisputed strongest being in all of Avernus. And after everything she's been put through, why shouldn't she be? Thank you all so much for watching this video. I know this was a bit on the long side, and it definitely won't be the last one like this either. I kinda expected the deep dive videos to be a bit longer in length, but I'll admit that there's a couple levels or archdevils I have a hard bias for, and Zariel is definitely one of them. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, you already know what to do, and I sure would appreciate it if you did. Be on the lookout for the next video in the series, all about Dis and its ruler, Despater. And if I'm being entirely honest, probably a long spiel about how I don't like Dis very much. Once again, I'm Malashira Jade, and this is Devil's Dice. Thank you for watching, and may the devil's luck turn in your favor.